Hey everybody, here's a bit of a follow-up to a video I made the other day on the Ruike LD41 or 21. It's 21. It's two layer. By the way, hit like and subscribe and comment. Comments help the algorithms. So, I'm always looking for the perfect EDC, and I've gotten pretty close on a bunch of knives. I got my Spydercos I love. There's my Swiss Army knives. This one's pretty good, except it does lack the one-handed opening. And the liner lock goes in the wrong direction, although it goes in the right direction if you're a lefty, but most of the world is not. And so, I went to the Ruike. The problem with the Ruike, but then there's a big benefit here. So if you remember the Ruike video I did the other day, they tend to be a little bit heavier because instead of aluminum spacers and stuff, they tend to use steel. The springs are thicker, the blade's thicker. They're G10 instead of handles, which is really nice instead of plastic. So and has a pocket clip, whereas these don't. So it tends to be a little bit heavier. So the one downside I found to the Ruikes is that if you want the Phillips screwdriver, you have to get the big boys. And so like this is the LD, I think it's the 43. It's got the Sandvik steel, high polish. It's nicer steel. It's a better steel than what's in the Victorinox. It does offer one-hand opening. You still get your liner lock, but it goes in the right direction for righties, so you can open it and close it one-handed. It does come with stainless steel pocket clips. And then it would have the Phillips. You may go, well, that doesn't look like a Phillips. No, because I moved it over here, and that's what this video is about. So there are places, there is a guy who does custom work on the Victorinox where he's bought a whole bunch of these. You see he's got a whole kit. And so he can take these apart, drill out the rivets, pop them out, put them back together with the tools you want, re-rivet it, put on new scales. And, I think he charges for that. And I don't know what the wait period is. And that's the thing with Victorinox is they've got a lot of really cool combinations. And they're sort of the benchmark for the EDC, this type of knife. But the steel's not that great, to be honest. It's kind of soft. It sharpens easy, but doesn't hold an edge very long. And, in order to get the things you want, despite the fact that they've got, at least in the large size, they've got like 70 configurations, I couldn't find one that literally had everything. This is the closest. It's thin, fairly light for its size, locking blade, but doesn't have a pocket clip, but it does have the basic tools that I would want in an EDC, which is a locking blade, screwdriver, and bottle opener. Here, I don't care as much about the can opener, but it's also a small screwdriver. And then on the other side, you have an awl. But more importantly, you got the two types of screwdrivers. You got Phillips and that. And then you got your toothpick and you got your whatchamacallit, tweezers. So I've been a fan of the Ruike knives. Also, you may know them under the name of the Boker Tech Tool. Ruike makes it for Boker. So here, you got one hand opening. And as this continues to break in, you'll be able to flick it open like that. This one, yeah, that one does. I could probably loosen that pivot a tiny bit, but you do have one-handed opening, whether you roll it open or flick it or whatever. I tend to just roll them open and then close one-handed. But I've got my pocket clip. I had everything, but it came with a damn corkscrew, and you couldn't get the Phillips unless you bought this one. This is 9.7 ounces. This is a tank. It's got the same big blade that locks. It's got a large seatbelt cutter. This is called their rescue tool. You got a decent sized saw. Doesn't have a can opener, but you got the bottle opener and screwdriver. You had the Phillips here and all, glass breaker, and a really nice big set of tweezers. Much nicer than the little flimsy ones that come in the Victorinox. But it's a beast. It's not really an EDC. You got a carabiner here, so if you're out hiking or camping or in a rescue situation, whatever, you can clip it on your belt or belt on your backpack strap or whatever and keep it there handy. So what I did was I had one of these and I'm looking at this that had the corkscrew, and I'm like, I don't need a corkscrew. I don't really drink, and I'm always reaching for a screwdriver for something. So here's the big difference between the Victorinox, besides the steel and the pocket clips and the one-handed opening and stuff. But fundamentally, these you can carefully pry off the plastic scales, and you might be able to reapply them as long as you do it carefully and don't break these. They kind of press fit on there. And then you have to drill out the rivet. There's a rivet that goes through, and it's peened and mashed over. They do it in a press. So you got to drill off that head and grind it off with a Dremel. And then carefully, once these scales are off, you have to tap that out in order for this to come out. So my first was I have a Trekker. I was like, you know what? I'm willing to sacrifice that and see if I can get the Swiss Army one to work. Because size-wise, it looked about the same. The problem is the hole was a different diameter. And this one's bigger. So by the time I drilled this out, this would be really thin. And because it's closer to the edge than this one, it would move it away and it wouldn't push against the spring enough. And it would be kind of a little loose. And by letting the spring push back this way against this, because there's more slack in there, then these blades would get loose. So what I did was, this is actually very simple to do with Ruike knives. These are not riveted together. You could take these and disassemble them and put them back together. And now I don't recommend it because there's a lot of little moving parts. There's little pins, there's screws, there's the spacer, the rivets. It's not a rivet, I guess. It's more just of a shaft that's threaded on both ends that goes through, and you have a screw here, and then underneath here you got a screw on the other side. Here, that screw goes into that piece in the middle, and then that screw goes into the other end, same over here. So what you do is you take out the top screw, all right? So there's 2 screws in there. This one, there's a little steel plate underneath the G10 that is like elliptical shaped, and the top screw goes through the steel plate and then into the main rivet. That's the pivot point. That one, the bottom one here, closest to my finger, that one just goes through the G10 and into the metal plate. So to take it apart, you don't want to take the clip off. You just take that top screw out, that screw, and this thing pops off. And when you have that off, there will be one of the steel liners. Carefully pry that up, and then you can lift this out. Well, it was the corkscrew. And then I took the Phillips screwdriver off of this one and put that one on there. Make sure you put your bronze washers, everything. You take it off, look at how it goes together, put it back in. So then I put the Phillips head onto there, slid it on, got the spring in place, put in the pin, and then put the spacer on, locked everything into place, and then I put on the G10 scale and dunk, 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 put in my 3 screws. And so now I've got the LD21 with the one-hand opening locking blade. I've got my screwdriver. I have my seat belt cutter. So nice tool for cutting zip ties and things like that. So I can hook it and just cut towards me. It's got a nice serrated edge for cutting seat belt straps, rope, heavy-duty zip ties, things like that. And now on the back, I have my Phillips screwdriver. This is going to be my primary EDC almost all the time. And I still got the glass breaker, and I've still got a really nice, fairly large set of tweezers. They're a little stiffer, the metal's thicker. They're just beefier tweezers than that little guy. I mean, it's good that it's there. You have them. But as far as tweezers go, these are much more heavy duty. So the knife does weigh an ounce or so, maybe an ounce and a half more than the Victorinox, in this case, the Adventurer. So it's you notice the weight, but it's not terrible. It really isn't. It's a little heavier, but you're getting thicker blades, better quality, harder steel. You get your pocket clip. You're getting G10 rather than plastic. And because of the nature of the construction, these are kind of what they are unless you really have all the tools and the right size rivets and the rivet tool and the machines and all that. Here, I bought this one as a donor, basically, so that, if I ever need to replace anything here, because this is just too big to carry. But you can buy the Ruike, the biggest one, and then you've got a whole set of extra tools and things. So if you ever broke something or snapped something, you can come and just take this apart and put all these parts in the drawers, the phosphor bronze washers. Put all these, sacrifice this, it is $50, but it gives you all the tools, spare springs, spare pocket clip, spare screws, all that stuff. And throw this in your knife drawer. And if you want, take it all apart and put the parts in there. And that way, if you ever need to change or modify or replace anything on the one that you actually carry, you got spare parts. Let's say if this thing's snagged on something and I bent and, torqued or, bent or broke the pocket clip. All right, well, I got an extra. If I wanted to change the scales and put the yellow scales over here, I can do that. If I ever snap the tip off the blade, well, I could try to reprofile it and all that, or I could come over here and take this blade off and put it on here. This is the one that I want. This is the one that I wish they made. This has it's small and it has the essential tools, right? Big locking, one-handed open blade, perfect. Screwdrivers, both styles, and a belt cutter, tweezers, and a glass breaker, and a pocket clip. That's everything I need and nothing that I don't in an EDC. This is close. If this had a one-hand opening blade that wasn't awkward and it didn't require me to use two hands to close it, this would be the one, I think. But the fact that you got better steel, it's a much more stabby point, it's a nicer blade, it's better steel, it's a better hardness, and you pick up a pocket clip and all that kind of stuff. It really is a really nice pocket knife. So buy the LD41, whatever, it's the only green one they make. And that gives you all the essential tools, the carabiner, other things that if you wanted to take this thing apart and use them as spares in case you break the blade or do things, or you want to reconfigure it. That's why I have that. I was like, you know what? I could just take that and put that Phillips screwdriver on there. And the one thing, I wish they sold this knife like this, but they don't. So I just made it. And it didn't take a lot. I didn't have to unrivet things and drill out things and worry about scratching it or slipping with the drill bit. I didn't have to re-rivet it together. And, when you're doing that, you're re-riveting. You got to be careful. You got to do a little bit at a time, because if you rivet it too hard, then you're pinching and binding, and then that thing might be like, it doesn't snap like it's supposed to. It's got to be able to move freely enough that it doesn't wiggle and there's no play, but it's got to snap on its own. You don't want to bind it so where it's like, and you have to push it, or it makes it harder to open. So this is phenomenal. This is what I want. I know you may look and go, well, I'm not going to spend $30 for this and then go spend $50 for this. Now I'm in for $80. I get it. But it's an option if you want. If you want to make your own and keep spares, I'm going to completely disassemble this in a few minutes, and I'm going to tape up, masking tape the blade so I don't nick the blade. But I'm going to have extra tools here. I mean, theoretically, if I wanted... If I was the type I wanted to sacrifice something, I said, you know what, I don't need the screwdriver. I'd rather have a saw here. I could get rid of this, both of the belt strap and the can opener, and I could change out that spring for that spring and put the saw blade on there. So you can just mix it up. If they don't sell the combination you want, unlike Victorinox, you can do this at home. You could buy the knives that have all the tools and then put them together and assemble them in a way that gives you the knife that you want. So with Victorinox, you can't. They got a lot of combinations, but surprisingly, for all the combinations they have, they don't have the one that I want. If they had a one-handed adventurer, maybe, but that lock would still be going in the wrong direction, which means when I open it, there's not a good way, unless you do it on a tabletop or something, to close it. You kind of have to, because it's just going in the wrong direction. These, it's just like any liner lock. You push your thumb that way, the blade hits the stop, get your fingers out of the way, and you close it. So that's my custom, I guess you could say it's custom, because unless someone else has built one, they don't exist. So that is the Ruike LD41BL, which is black. But I'll put it BL-P because we got a Phillips screwdriver now. I might have the only one in existence. I'm sure somebody out there must have done it, but as far as I know, I haven't seen it. So I might have the only one of these in existence. So there you go. Anyway, hope you enjoy. I'm a big fan of Ruike for that reason. The ability to just take it apart, clean it, adjust your pivot. If you get a loose blade here and it's got left to right wobble, what do you do? I mean, I guess you could take it apart and mash the rivets down a little more. But again, if you mash it a little bit too much and now the blade is binding, you can't unmash it. You'd have to drill it out and put in new rivets and stuff. And you'd have to have the rivets. I don't even know where you would get those. You'd have to probably buy them from overseas or something. Here, it's more like a conventional knife. You got your screws. If you need to take it apart, clean it, replace a tool, put in a new blade, you can do all that. Not so with the Victorinox. So anyway, I've been rambling long enough. Just wanted to show that off and show you that that's what you can do with the Ruike knives. Pretty cool, huh? Anyway, later.